October 5th, 2023 edition. Today we had no closed session at all, so I will ask if there's any disclosure of any pecuniary interest. Seeing none. Any disclosure of new business? And then we'll move on to matters arising from the minutes. I don't believe there is any. No. So, you know what? I'm sorry. I have to read this first before we get into it. My apologies. This hybrid meeting is being held in person here in council chambers and electronically in accordance with section 238 subsection 3.3 of the Municipal Act and section 16.6.24 of the City of Woodstock Procedure Bylaw. This meeting is being live streamed to the city's YouTube channel, and a recording will be posted on the city's website following the meeting. An agenda of the meeting can be found on the agendas, meetings, and minutes page of the city's website, and all councillors are in attendance. And Councillor Wismer Van Meer will be reading the resolutions. So we'll jump back into it here. Minutes, Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Leatherbarrow, that the minutes of the regular meeting of Woodstock City Council held on September 21st, 2023, and the minutes of the special meeting of Woodstock City Council held on September 26, 2023 be adopted.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns with that? Seeing none, all those in favor? None opposed. Next up, no additions to the agenda that I'm aware of. We do not have any presentations or delegations this afternoon. No consideration of planning reports, no consideration of correspondence, staff presentations. We don't have any, but we do have tonight a mayor's report. So I am looking for a motion. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. I'll move that Woodstock City Council receives the report regarding Woodstock's response to provincial housing targets as information.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder on that? Councillor Tate. Discussion. Councillor Lauder.
Right. Before we get into discussion, could I ask that the mayor summarize his report?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Lauder. I would appreciate that very much. And if council will indulge me to share with the public, I know this is has a lot of people interested in this mayor's report and the way this lands. It'll be part of today's discussion, I'm sure. I'd like to start off with the aim of this, as always, is the collaboration and transparency to the public, to outline my intentions and in reference to Councillor Leatherbarrow's motion later on this afternoon, of course, this being the last council meeting before the October 15th deadline. I wanted to make sure this was out in the public. Quick little background for those watching at home. June 16th, 2023, Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing asked the City of Woodstock to demonstrate its commitment to accelerate the housing supply. And that letter indicated that we had until December 15th to submit a housing target and a housing pledge. On August 21st, 2023, Premier Ford announces the new $1.2 billion Building Faster Fund at AMO, which is the Association of Municipalities of Ontario conference that a lot of us attended. And importantly, part of that announcement, Premier also stated that municipalities with housing targets would also be eligible for strong mayor powers. On August 22nd, 2023, so the next day, we received a letter from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing informing us that the housing target for Woodstock is 5,500. So this is the first time they come out and gave us a clear number. And they asking me as head of council to confirm this assigned target. And by doing so, Woodstock would be eligible to access the Building Faster Fund, the $1.2 billion fund that was just announced the day before. Then on September 15th, we received a letter from the new Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing asking me again as head of council to review 74 recommendations coming out of the Ontario Housing Affordability Task Force report. And for those watching last meeting, they may recall that I actually sent it out to all of council, and I really say thank you very much to everyone for contributing such good information and bringing that to me. Our top 5, I can safely say, align very closely together, and a lot of overlaps there. The important part to the September 15th, though, in that letter stated that the deadline to complete this request was October 16th, and failure to respond to this request would make Woodstock ineligible for the Building Faster Fund. Now, I know not everyone reads the full reports and everything else. So if council will indulge me, I would like to read almost verbatim just my general comments, if that would be acceptable to council. Okay, no objections. Thank you. We can all surely agree that there's no question that the availability and affordability of safe, appropriate housing is a significant concern for Woodstock. I believe committing to the provincially assigned housing target and working with the province is the most effective way to address the local housing crisis. After confirming our intent to achieve the housing target of creating 5,500 new housing units by 2031, I look forward to working with my council colleagues to develop Woodstock's housing pledge. The pledge, which is to be submitted to the province by December 15th, will outline the strategies and actions we will take to achieve the housing target. The pledge is also where we can identify creative solutions to address our reservations about how some of the recommendations in the Housing Affordability Task Force report could apply for here in Woodstock. While we may have concerns that being able to access the Building Faster Fund is tied to strong mayor powers, as voluntary participants in this process, we will have access to the tools and incentives provided to advance some of our local issues. As a partner sitting at the table, I also believe we will have a greater opportunity to voice our concerns and advocate for change. While the $1.2 billion Building Faster Fund won't cover all the infrastructure costs needed to support Woodstock's growth, it will help reduce the burden on taxpayers and provide us with some funding to support local housing-related priorities, including things like affordable housing or increasing residential densities as identified in our strategic plan. As a partner in the solution to increasing the housing supply, we can advocate on behalf of our residents for the things that matter most. This was not something we asked for. However, as we learn more about this legislation, it appears there may be ways to navigate this new governance model while preserving the democratic process that we value. Unfortunately, the term strong mayor is a distraction from the intent of the legislation, especially within the confines of a two-tier system where planning authority, as well as water and sewer operating authority, resides with the upper tier. The ability to stray far from the status quo is very limited. Next, the report does go on talking about use and delegation of the strong mayor powers. I will issue a mayor's direction to delegate and appoint the chief administrative officer, CIO, for hire municipal division heads and change organizational structure, just like status quo of what we're doing now. Again, creating assigning functions and appoint chairs of committees. We only have one committee this is really relevant to. It's the Woodstock Hydro Legacy Fund. All other committees are made up of the general public, but I will sign and say a mayor's direction confirming my intent for this committee to proceed with the status quo, as well as the budget process. For those watching previous meetings, we've already got a deadline set up and a timeline set up for the budgeting process. I will not exercise veto powers on council amendments to the budget to ensure the process remains on schedule and all members of council have equal votes. Accountability and transparency. Since being elected, I've been consistent in my pursuit of transparency. Hence why I put this report as quickly as I could after a request came through from the councillor. I believe my entire time I've been consistent and transparent. I'm excited for the opportunities that become available by choosing this path. I believe there's an opportunity to create a citywide community improvement plan to encourage and support the development of a new affordable housing. Currently, the city has a downtown-specific community improvement plan that provides grants and loans to support downtown property owners to develop and or improve their properties. I'd like to have council together explore taking this concept citywide to support the development of new affordable housing. While many programs could be developed, the one that I'm most interested in is the concept of a municipal tax increment grant back program for new affordable housing. This program would grant back a portion of the municipal taxation for a to be determined number of years. The program would be available to any development that will be subject of an affordable housing agreement with the County of Oxford. Most importantly, the estimated $4 to $5 million, this is based on our calculations using the provincial formula we were given, the city could receive under the Building Faster Fund, what could be the source of funding for this program, subject to confirming eligibility with the province. Thank you for council for allowing me to read that and get that out in the public as well. And with that, I'll open it up to discussion. Councillor Lauder, thank you for that question.
Thank you. I'm voting in favor of the motion to receive the report as information, but I do not agree with the strong mayor powers legislation that the province has tied in with the provincial housing targets under the Building Faster Fund. This is terrible legislation which could harm our democracy going forward. I do not believe the position of mayor should have the powers set out under the strong mayor powers, such as firing or hiring a CAO and other positions within the municipality, setting budgets, etc. The list goes on. These should be decisions of the entire council. What we require is affordable housing, which this does not address. There is no guarantee it will happen. When they say affordable, I say affordable to who? I thank the mayor for this detailed report with the information he has to date, as we requested at our last meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Did I see a hand up? Councillor Leatherborough.
Thank you. Through the mayor and to my colleagues, I will not be supporting this or receiving it as information, and I have a plethora of lists of reasons as to why. I am of the opposite view that this report that I scanned and read multiple times over the weekend, I do not feel that it is as transparent and precise as it could be. I have highlighted a bunch of different sections that I take issue with, but I believe we have to keep this meeting. But I also take issue with that the mayor of Woodstock went on Heart FM on Tuesday ahead of our public meeting. And so when I hear the word democratic process, I think that outlining your report or sharing an opinion of what you've put together is one thing, but essentially telling the community not the full story, not the full truth, not the full implications, which a lot of we don't even know. I feel like that's a disservice to the democratic process. I certainly didn't get a phone call ahead of that meeting, and I take issue with the fact that it was glazed over the implications that this strong mayor powers will have just solely on budgets. Nowhere do I read anything about the 2025 budget. I only see 2024. I see the wording as voluntary participants. I am not volunteering for this. And I know a lot of residents in the city of Woodstock are also not volunteering for this. And to that point, I thought a lot about, the campaigning period. Obviously, I ran in 2018. I didn't make it. I waited 4 years and I've worked really, really hard to be here. And we are a citywide council. We don't have words here. We don't have, I'm responsible for 2,000. Councillor Tate's responsible for 5,000. Who might reach out to Councillor Tate is not who's reaching out to me. And then we collectively come to a decision or an action item that we feel will serve everybody. I am responsible for 50,000 residents. So I don't agree with what you've written. I don't agree that there are holes and uncertainties that do not serve the Woodstock residents. And further to that, I just feel if I looked at this as like a business deal, I'm going into business with a friend, colleague, or neighbor. Before we send it off, you're going to have back and forth drafts. This is the first draft and it's not good enough. So I will not be receiving it as information. And I am deeply frustrated that Mr. Mayor and a lot of mayors across the province have sat on this information long before August, but for us, August. And we're now under the wire of how we're going to be transparent to the community. And I will not accept this. So therefore, I won't support it.
Thank you for that. Any other discussion? Councillor Wheaton.
Thank you very much. Just a few short weeks ago, we sat here and you asked us to trust you. And I gave you the time, and I think collectively we gave you the time and trusted that you'd make the right decision. And I'm questioning that we gave you that time now. I have some questions for you that I would like to get a response. On Tuesday on your Heart FM interview, you indicated that you would be talking to the ministry. I'm assuming that meant Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing that afternoon. Could you provide us an update on what that conversation, how that went? And are there other pieces of information from the ministry that you know that we don't know that would influence our decision making today?
Sure, thank you. Appreciate that, actually. I did ask you to trust me because we are in the information gathering process. We're coming down to the wire. To the comment about saying and telling the public on Heart FM, I believe everybody would have received their council report on Friday, and it was going public on Monday. So that's why I chose to say it then, to get it out there. Again, as I've been trying this entire time to be as transparent as I can. As far as your pointed question, Councillor Wheaton, about my discussions, I did speak with Minister Flack and Paul. I'm going to apologize because I know he's going to be watching.
Calandra.
Paul Solowich. He's a legislative assistant for policy and advocacy. Because I do have, and I still have a lot of questions. I can't deny that. But a lot were answered, and some of them were Chatham Kent, for those watching, did come out and ask about a third option, asked about if we could sign this as a proposal to hit the 5,500, and if I could turn down the strong mayor powers, because as mentioned, I'm willing to sign and delegate those authorities that I can back to staff and to council. Okay, I do not have the option, unfortunately, with all of them to do that. It was a very strong, not an option. There is no third option. This is a yes or a no. Accept it or not. So accept it very clearly, be part of the $1.2 billion, the big pot of money that we would be eligible for, or no. And then if we wanted to take, I believe it was referred to the scraps after the fact, then we could try to get a little bit of the scraps after the fact and take our chances of what's going to be left. So that was made very clear. That is not an option. It's all or nothing. Okay. There was some discussions about the two-tier system. Where does this land right now? And he confirmed there is no review going on for Oxford County. So this really limits, again, those powers under those strong power or mayor powers. It really restricts, again, of what this council needs to be fearful of. And therefore, another reason why should I turn down such a big pot of money? Because I really believe this council's been clear, and we will hit those targets. There's no question in my mind. As a group, together, we will hit those targets. Counselor Wheaton?
Then why sign away our democratic process if we're going to hit those targets anyway?
For the money as part, again, to be blunt, to make us eligible. My job as mayor is not to make the easy decisions. This is one of those that I know how you're feeling right now. I've sat in your chair for 2 terms. I understand where council has concerns. I truly, truly do. But I was not elected to make those easy decisions. And so far, in my opinion, this is the most difficult thing I've had to think about for months now and get around my head. I truly believe I am doing what's best for the city of Woodstock. Because the easiest move for me would be just what you're suggesting, that I turn it down. I watch social media. Everybody knows that. I know what people are saying about this. I know this is not a popularity contest thing. I know what shade this puts me in as a mayor going against some councillors' opinion and thoughts, which again, I respect more than you know. But my job is to make what I think the best decision possible for the city of Woodstock. And that is why I've made this decision. Yes, Councillor Wheaton.
I have some follow-up questions. Your report indicates that for the budget season of 2024, you will not use the veto powers and it won't be a mayor's budget. As Councillor Leatherborough mentioned, you make no mention of 2025 or 2026. What are your intention for those future years?
Yeah, that was brought up. That's a fair question. I don't know. Again, to be honest with you, I don't know. I was so focused right now on this, getting my head around what we've got to do to be eligible for this funding, that I don't know for those future years, and I don't want to be necessarily having to worry about that as well. What I can assure you is we are going to continue to do this collaboratively. We're going to continue to value and take all the input I can with every single decision I have to make, no different than I have this past year. Yep, Councillor Wheaton.
I have a long list of questions here, but I will try to summarize this now. Do you intend to use strong mayor powers to advance boundary adjustment for residential growth?
Well, I think I already made that clear. We don't have that authority. That is not one that's here at all. Do I think at some point Woodstock's going to grow? Yes. I mean, anybody that looks at a map can see that we're at our limits. I can't sugarcoat it. Again, I'll make the best decision I can at the time with as much information as I can. But for those that fear that this is something to do with that is not true at all, because I don't think at this point, I don't see how one relates to the other. Councillor Wheaton.
So I asked the question because these are the questions that have been posed to me
Sure.
over the last week.
Yeah.
So I think that doing this for the money is very short-sighted. I think that this council has made a wide variety of financial decisions that are much bigger than this, with a much bigger financial impact. And I'll refer to the building next door, the purchase of that. I will refer to Southgate Center expansion, much bigger price tags. In exchange for, in a opposition to this, 4 to 5 million over a handful of years is not worth the jeopardizing of the democratic process. So I think that this is very undemocratic. I think reducing our elected voices in exchange for the promise of a relatively small amount of money, it's pretty ridiculous. A one-time potential payout, you are exchanging that for the future, long-term, in perpetuity of this council's democratic process. And I think that that lacks vision. And I think it, honestly, it lacks leadership. I think that this provincial government has walked back on so many things in the last few months that 1.2 billion is a pretty easy number for them to change their minds on. And I even question whether there is 1.2 billion available for this kind of an incentive. A Woodstock, and I've said this before, we are 0.0037% of the $1.5 million housing target. we are not the province's savior when it comes to housing in this, in Ontario. I feel that by talking to the media about strong mayor powers, and I'll echo what Councillor Leatherbrow said before talking to us, it sets a dangerous precedent. I think it was unfair to us as councillors. I think many of the comments you made in that interview were very misleading. You were very pointedly asked the question, is this just about housing? And you said yes. And it is not just about housing. It is about budget. It is about hiring and firing. It is about senior management teams. It is about committees. It is about many, many, many things. And I feel like your comments were misleading to the public. You said in your interview that you are willing to be judged on the way you use strong mayor powers, which is an incredibly bold statement. You will not only be judged on how you use them, but you will be judged on how you don't use them. And I can think of a handful of people out there right now who will scrutinize every decision and every action, and it will form the basis of their campaign platform in 2026.
Councillor Tate.
Thank you, through the chair. I'm not going to get into the reasons why I spoke against the strong mayor powers the last time, because it was clear. I'm obviously not in favor of the wording. I do want to just state, I don't think this should be a meeting attacking the mayor. I think that's regrettable and the character, and I'll comment to that. And it's always been policy and procedure. The agenda comes out on Friday and the mayor has always gone on the radio on Monday. So I have no issues with that. That's always happened. We have the agenda, we have it. That is the mayor's job. I didn't run for mayor. And if I wanted to be the mayor, I would be doing it, but I'm not. So I wanted to get that clear. And I think these personal attacks are unnecessary in the chamber. So let's stick to what it is and why. So as the mayor has commented, he did this report because we asked for it. I want to let the public be very clear and understand that at no point did this have to come to the sphere of council. A number of other mayors were granted the powers or were given the powers without any discussion, having to sign a pledge, anything else. And I think the public needs to be aware that our mayor did not have to bring this forward. So talk about being transparent. That's about as transparent as you can get, because we all know social media is nasty. So we all know that you're getting assassinated on social media. So at any point, I don't think anybody thinks that the mayor would take this for the wrong reasons. And that's why I fully believe that the current mayor is never going to use those strong mayor powers that everybody's afraid of. It's just, I'm not one bit concerned about that. And the reason is because he brought this forward. It never had to be in the public domain and all this public discussion on it. The reason that I want the pledge signed, and has nothing to do with the money, because I think the money is nothing. The most important issue to me is we are two-tier. We cannot fulfill any of the stuff the province wants us to, and actually we have issues already with what we've okayed. So we are a two-tier system, and I think the public needs to understand what happens with that. So we don't control our water and our wastewater or planning. Planning comes here, but we don't have the final say. So over at County Council, if they want to overrule us, they overrule us. The big issue with the water is when the new agreement was signed, they are in control of all new, anything new that comes into development in the city. Now, I have an issue with that. I'm not going to get into specifics of what was done, but there are certain infrastructures that the county would not listen to our city staff, and the infrastructure is not compatible to what we need. And that's going back on the taxpayer. There are other issues that were done. I can't comment because they were done and closed, but they were not done in favor of Woodstock. Luckily, our county councillors voted in favor of us, and we were able to get out of it. But I'm concerned going forward. And the thing to me with this pledge is the ability that hopefully the province gives us to control our own destiny with the water and wastewater and the planning. That is the biggest issue. The rest of it is noise to me. I don't agree with it. The mayor of his council. I think the current mayor has been quite clear. He's not going to use the powers. And honestly, what mayor would? If you're going to use the powers that we disagree with, like the hiring and the firing, video, you're never getting reelected. I don't think a mayor ever runs and thinks, I never want to get reelected. So I think we need to have a little common sense here and get back to the basics. But to me, the most important part of this is we as taxpayers and as a city, we need to control these most important issues that affect the growth of this city, and not even just the growth, the ongoing maintenance of the city, and we have no control. So this is what happens with two-tier. It's very confusing for the taxpayer because they're not at the county table, but it's getting worse and worse, and I think it's important. So I'm going to receive the report. I appreciate all the work Councillor Leatherbarrow did, and she did a lot, and I agree with a lot of the stuff that she said, and her motion, I do agree with it. And I think because of you bringing the motion forward, I think that's why the report came, and I think that's important. I think it's important to have the discussion, but I think we should be a little more dignified in the council chambers and not take personal attacks. Because the mayor's not doing this to be spiteful. He's not doing it to do something to the taxpayers. It's actually in the best interest of the city. And I think it comes back to, we need to have control of our infrastructure. That's what it comes to me. And it's not the money, because the money's not going to cover anything. As far as I'm concerned, the money means nothing. Thanks.
Thank you for those words. Councillor Schadenberg, then I'll.
Yeah, through to the mayor, I just wanted to get an idea too, excuse me, on what the framework of the letter to the province of Ontario will be for October 16th. Because to accept this as information, in my opinion, I would think that I'd have to agree with 95% of it, and quite frankly, I don't. So it's hard for me to accept this as strictly as information. So the letter going back to the province of October 16th, is that going to agree to the 5,500 projected residential units for the city of Woodstock? And is it going to create the top 5 list from those 74 recommendations that we had that meeting through, that we went through step by step? And also of those 74 recommendations, which one we agree to, which one we don't agree to? What's going to be the framework for this October 17th letter to the province versus the deadline of December 15th for a report?
Thank you for that, but recognize we're talking about two clearly different things right now. Right, in October 15th, that's why the different deadlines. October 15th is just strictly me signing off saying that we're accepting the 5,500 as our goal to be eligible under the Building Faster Fund. October 16th is in reference to the 74 questions that you're referring to. I will be putting forward something together of basically everybody's thoughts and opinions as I understand them, I guess. I will be sharing with council what I'm going to be putting as the top 5 ultimately when I send that out. I will be sending that out to you. I do not, unfortunately, have that completed yet. But as actually Councillor Schadenberg, I mean, we sat and went over each and every single one. So I think I know for a fact, Councillor Schadenberg and Councillor Lauder know my thoughts and opinions on all 74. It's just really that final piece before we submit that I'll be doing. So I know that's not exactly the answer you wanted. But again, that's just.
I guess
Pass
my
that
question would be, if there's a consensus from council to accept this report as information, and let's say in theory, someone could say that, well, the extension to that is we agree to the report. So for example, if the province of Ontario ever saw this report from today's agenda, it would suggest that the city of Woodstock might have the opportunity to create a citywide community improvement plan to encourage and support the development of new affordable housing in the city of Woodstock, whether that be additional residential units or three plexes or 10 plexes or whatever. I think there's a big difference between that and sort of the downtown community improvement plan, which a lot of it has concentration on making sure you get the right signage and the right facades. So we're not putting aluminum siding on the front of buildings when it would look much nicer as a Victorian looking structure of any sort, whether that be brick or wood, or what the windows would look like. And again, signage being very important as well. So to insinuate at all that we might get into any kind of zero interest loans or something like that to landlords to help them build whatever type of additional residential unit or income property or something along the same line as with a community improvement plan is for the downtown, I would be 100% against that. But if I was to agree to your letter and the province of Ontario saw the letter, they would say, oh gee, the city of Woodstock wants to come up with a program to assist landlords in building income property. As a possibility. I'm not saying we would, but the opportunity to create a citywide community improvement plan.
In response to that, again, I think you're kind of mixing up too many different things here at once, if I may, Councillor. That report you're talking about isn't due until December 15th. That is something I've openly said that we will be collaborative in those discussions, how we form getting to the 5,500. We will be doing that together. We'll continue to do that together. This is just simply saying from the head of council, myself, it's asking me, do I think we can get to 5,500 homes by December 31st of 2031? And I'm going to send a letter saying, yes, I do believe we can. We've done 3,500 already this year. Right? Lots of questions, realize we're not quite there yet, but I'm very confident in our past almost year of voting and everything else. We've always been together on that common goal of infilling and doing more with us simply as much as we can. So Councillor Schattenberg, you got your microphone back on. You have
Yes,
more to
no, I
add?
do. I just think any dollars we get from the Building Faster Fund will have to be directed to a third fire hall and to servicing roads and to urbanizing some of our unurbanized roads with sidewalks and curbs and stuff like that. There'd be things along that line, plus some items that would not be covered in any kind of development charges kind of a program.
Well, mostly everything you've talked about there is development chargeable, you know, a fire hall and things like that. Those are development charge. So hopefully that won't change. We'll have that money available to us then. Okay. Councillor Leatherborough.
Through your worship, I want to go back to common sense and I want to go back to social media. And I know Councillor Tate and I, hold your breath, we agree a lot on this. But specifically with common sense and social media, I do Councillor Corners after every meeting. I'm on social media. I ran on the platform of community engagement. We're almost at our year mark. And not only am I constantly trying to understand this role, I'm also trying to watch what's happening across the street because that impacts my residents too, our residents. But then I'm distributing that back to the community. And so when I took issue with this Heart FM interview, I read the report. I read it front and back. I wrote out all of my edits all weekend long. I thought about it in the middle of the night. And the reality is that your piece of community engagement is Heart FM, and you left out so much of what this means. It is your responsibility. You are in the big chair. And I'm telling you that it's not a personal attack, that I strongly disagree with how poorly written this was. And I think that we can all do a better job, agree to disagree, but provide the information that is going to impact the next residents. And from my point of view, the next generation of leaders. I'm running and I ran to hold the door open for other people. So we may all feel in sync. And I feel like this council has really come together for all of the reasons that I said, that we are united. We are a citywide council. But in 2026, I mean, this has been my least favorite part as a new councillor. And you've already been a councillor. You've served your time. You say that you would understand. You don't understand. There are so many people that may not even put their name on the ballot for lots of barrier reasons. And this is going to be another one of them. So I just want to be really specific that this is not a personal attack at the mayor. This is my only public forum to say what you wrote is not adequate. It's not acceptable. It could have been done better. We could have worked at it together. Because we need to shift democracy back into our hands. It's not shifting democracy into one person's hands, which I'm telling you is going to happen. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in 6 months, but I'm deeply passionate about the fact that I respect the process. Anytime I do a council report, I don't say, Councillor Wismer Van Meer said X, Y, and Z. I share the vote. I share who voted, depending on if it's a recorded vote, because then it's in the minutes. I don't go on social media ahead of minutes saying, or ahead of meetings rather, saying, this is how I feel, this is how I feel. And I've brought in a few big issues forward. I respect the process and I respect us as a team. And I'm really, really unhappy about this, but this could have been written way better.
Value that opinion. Thank you. Councillor Wismer Van Meer first. Sorry, I didn't see who went up first.
Through you, your worship, I guess maybe just a comment more than anything. I don't envy the position you're in right now. Yes, I've only been sitting in the seat for less than a year, and we've had some really heavy topics already in that short time that have been kept me up at night, stressed me out. I don't envy you being in this position by any means. So, you know, this is definitely not something that's easy to do, but I'm not going to go in like what Councillor Tate said. I mean, I'm not for the strong mayor's powers as well. There for many reasons that have already been covered. But I think for me, it's very much the precedence that we set for the future of our community and what could happen down the road. And if somebody comes into this role and what they could potentially do. And as much as it's not a matter of not trusting our current head of council, it's for me, a big part of it is what could be down the road. And I know that Councillor Tate touched on the fact that we would hope that people don't do those things, but I'm not sure I trust society as much as I would have maybe a few years ago. So I just wanted to publicly say I don't envy the position you're in. I know this is very difficult, and I'm sure that this has been extremely hard for you. I don't envy that at all, but I'm definitely not in favor of the strong mayor powers in general.
Thank you for that. Councillor Tate.
Yeah, just through the chair, I'm not in favor of the strong mayor powers, and honestly, we don't have a vote on it here. We all know that. So I'm not gonna pretend we have a vote. We can all speak against it, which we all have. But at the end of the day, all I was trying to say is I understand about signing the pledge. I'm not talking about the strong mayor. I'm talking about the pledge, which is in the best interest of the city. I'm very vocal. I don't want to expand. I'm not for any of that, but I am very concerned about the two-tier system. That's my whole issue with going forward with this. But the strong mayor, and I mean, the CAO can comment on this. I think every municipality is going to end up with it. We're just in a position that the province has put our head of council in a terrible position to have to do the way it was done. A whole bunch of mayors were just automatically stroke of a pen. And I think going forward, that's going to happen to everybody. We are in a position, we at least got to talk about it, speak about it, have the public aware of it. You know, if the provincial government doesn't get back in, maybe it gets switched and it's gone. But I understand part of the reason they did it, and it was for the housing. Not that I agree with it. And I'm going to say, I'm not for the strong mayors, but we have a problem in our community with having the two-tier system. So all I'm trying to say is I understand why the mayor would want to sign the pledge. And I think it needs to be clear. It is two separate things. So if the CAO could just comment on the signing of the pledge, it has not been written, correct? The pledge? And if it hasn't been written, just an idea for the public of the information that goes into it.
Your worship, through to Councillor Tate, no, the pledge has not been written. It's not something that we would start until the decision and the commitment letter has been filed with the province. The deadline for submission of the housing pledge is December 15th. The pledge essentially lays out a plan for how the council will work towards achieving the goal of building 5,500 new residential dwelling units by 2031. And you would start by identifying things that you've already issued direction for. And it can be things such as the standing request of our planning department for a report on how to increase building height and residential density within our downtown core and within the entrepreneurial district. It could be something as simple as directing the planning department to review the parking requirements for our high-rise and medium-density residential blocks, which you've seen time and time again come before you for development approvals with a request for a reduction in parking, with the planning supporting it because they indicate that our standards are too high. So it can be what the council's indicated in its strategic plan through its recent realignment exercise with respect to pursuing boundary adjustments. It's one of this council's highlight strategic plan initiatives to pursue increasing the land supply for residential development. So it is an opportunity to be creative. If council wishes to move forward with consideration of community improvement plan amendments for the downtown to strengthen the programs that we have in place in the downtown, or to extend those programs citywide, that is something that you would indicate in a housing pledge to the province that the council is going to review and consider. In a pledge, the province also requests the council to identify any barriers that it may see in achieving these outcomes. And an example of a barrier is, I think you see in that 74 list of recommendations, you'll see a one item where it talks about streamlining development approvals, reducing the redundancy of public statutory meetings to complete a planning application. And so in that regard, that's very much what Councillor Tate was speaking about with respect to the planning authority being duplicated. It requires a public meeting in this council chamber, and it requires a public meeting in the county council chamber to stitch together the zoning approval with the required plan of subdivision approval in order to get your final planning approvals to move forward. So it's an attempt to perhaps streamline that into a one-stop, one-window approach. So these are the things that are identified in a housing pledge, but this is just a very short sample of things that you may see.
So just to follow up, say this again, but to me, the most important issue is the two-tier and getting some control back. I have sat at the table in county for a number of years, and it's extremely upsetting. We're paying the freight. We do not have representation. As the mayor said, we are not on their books to look at what's going on in the two-tier system. For the public's benefit, what goes on, and we've had this, and I've sat on a council with a bad mayor. I've done it. It's terrible. When that mayor gets control of some of the council, they can do whatever they want. So the strong mayor powers, to me, I've already witnessed it, and it had nothing to do with what the province said. A mayor can do that now. If he gets control of a council, they can do any agenda they want. I've watched a mayor in one of my first couple of years tried to fire staff because they didn't go along with what they wanted. So I've seen it. So it's already there. It's already there. If a mayor has control of a council, it's the same thing. You still have to have 1/3. But I witness what goes on over in that council chamber. And as a taxpayer, if we have any way for them to take a look at what's going on and bring some of our services back to our control is extremely important. The other problem with the county council is, yes, we have 3 votes, but not everybody always goes in our favor. Because what happens over there, the warden is elected amongst ourselves. So I've witnessed this before. You have maybe a counselor voting the way that is not beneficial to Woodstock because they have ulterior motive. I'm not saying now, but I've witnessed it, and it's not a good system. So any availability for the province to put a spotlight on us and get some of our systems back under our control is a huge advantage to the taxpayer. And I will say, I have been under a mayor that has had control, and it's not good for the city, it's not good for the taxpayers, and it's not good for the people sitting at this table. But it happens, and it happens without the wording of strong mayor, because I've been in it, and it happens. I am quite confident in this term it won't be used. If you're not reelected and I have no confidence that person is, but it doesn't matter because they get control of the council and they can do whatever they want anyways. It happens. And as I said, who knows what goes forward if the Ford government gets reelected. But to me, the most important thing is we try and get control back for the taxpayers of Woodstock of what we control. And because at the end of the day, it affects their taxes. We're paying 60% of what's going on there, and we do not have representation, and a lot of money is getting spent.
Thank you. Oh, Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, maybe this is something that Ms. Humphries, the clerk, deputy CAO, could answer. I've had a couple of people ask me this question, and I feel like I'm maybe not answering it the proper way. But in this situation with the information, whether councillors vote in favor of accepting it or not accepting the information, what does that mean? What does that stand for in the agenda and in the minutes and such? Because people ask, well, if you vote against the report as information, what happens? And I think I tried to answer it the best I could, but you have a much more knowledge and much more experience in that. So would you mind sharing that just so people understand the process and that I didn't mislead? Thanks.
Your worship, through to the councillor's question, ultimately receive as information is just accepting the report. It's a non-decision. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's supported or not supported. So if council felt differently and wanted to support or not support it, then I would suggest a different resolution should be put on the floor.
Thank you. I guess I was asked earlier, and I've been thinking, I've been listening to everybody, and I was asked by, I believe it was Councillor Wheaton, asked me about one of the reasons I'm doing this, and it's not just the money. Really, one of the most important pieces, and I guess as a councillor versus a mayor, sitting in both those shoes that I've experienced as the mayor now, I certainly have a lot more discussions with the province. This has really opened up a lot of doors and cell numbers to a lot of ministers and their positions to ask questions. But not only that, it has absolutely given us opportunities to have other inputs. Minister of Health and Addictions, naming one quickly that came to mind while we were sitting here, that doesn't necessarily, but having that connection through and there's so many different aspects that I know is a little harder to put a price tag on or a value on, but it is extremely valuable, and working together with governments is one of the reasons that you asked why I'm going to be accepting that. So Councillor Leatherborough.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just a question. Are you confident that this is going to get shovels in the ground? Because again, when we're looking at the both ends of the spectrum, I'm taking on strong mayor powers, whether I like it or lump it, but we've already got 3,500 units in the queue, and we have to reach our target of 5,500, which I know we will. Where is that disconnect? Or if you have all of these cell numbers, can you tell me how we're getting shovels in the ground? Because after we approve things, which is really all we can do, we've approved so much within our first year, which we still aren't even at yet. And varieties of densities, we haven't even scratched ARUs, etc. So I want to know your public position on how are you crafting shovels in the ground as of yesterday.
In relationship to as of yesterday, I'm just gonna simply say that, quickly answer, yes, absolutely. This is already open so many doors, and I guess that was my point for other funding. We're not just talking about housing funding. This is everything. As far as how we're going to do that, and what that's going to look like here in the city of Woodstock, again, has nothing to do with strong mayor powers. This is still going to be a collaborative effort amongst us and how we want that to look like here in the city of Woodstock. Do I think the strong mayor portion itself is really relative to us here in the city of Woodstock in today's environment? No, I think I've been fairly clear that there isn't a huge difference of what all of a sudden November 1st powers as a mayor is going to have versus what we have as of today. No, I don't think there is that big of a difference. The difference is we're working with the government. We are working together at a common goal that this council has clearly stated is housing. So why would I not put us in the best position possible to work on that with them? And that's the biggest reason for my decisions. Councillor Wheaton, I think, had her hand up, or no?
Did you have your hand up first?
And this is just a comment, and I agree with Councillor Tate's comments on the sewer and water and planning coming back to the city from the county. And because I think that is going to be a big benefit to the city so that we have more say over what happens in our municipality. I just want to thank the mayor again for bringing the report forward. He didn't have to do this. I understand many municipalities have signed their acceptance back without even taking it to their council. So I feel that we have been given the opportunities to speak to, and it has been spoken to quite openly of how we feel. And for that, I thank you again for bringing this forward and giving us this opportunity.
Sorry. Thank you. Any other thoughts or questions before I call the vote? So right now the motion on the floor is to take the information to take this report as information. All those in favor? Against? Motion carried as taking it forward. Thank you. Okay. We will move along here. We have no councillor reports, no department reports, administrative services. Oh,
Through your worship, is there any way I can move a motion just to bring up my new business, just because we're on the same vein here?
can't do that.
I don't know if that's allowed or.
I would certainly have no objections to that. Does anybody else have any reason not to pull that forward? That's a very valid point instead of rehashing everything over again. Yep. No. So that would be, for those following along at home, would be under the new business section by Councillor Leatherborough. So Councillor Leatherborough.
Moved by myself, Councillor Kay Leatherborough, whereas the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing has requested that the mayor of the city of Woodstock commit in writing by October 15th, 2023 to meet the provincially assigned target of 5,500 new homes in Woodstock by 2031. And whereas this commitment will make Woodstock eligible for possible access to the Building Faster Fund if a minimum annual target is met. And whereas this commitment will also activate strong mayor powers in the city of Woodstock effective October 31st, 2023. And whereas the province has provided minimal clarity as to eligible expenses funded by the Building Faster Fund and how municipal progress will be tracked. And whereas Woodstock City Council recognizes the current housing crisis locally and across the province and has actively supported planning applications to build more homes and increase residential density. And whereas the Building Faster Fund and strong mayor powers do not ensure housing affordability for residents or other critical infrastructure and services required to support a growing and thriving community. And whereas the enactment of strong mayor powers associated with this commitment could potentially harm the democratic process and deter future municipal candidates from serving the community. And whereas strong mayor powers do not align with council's strategic plan and strategic priorities. And whereas Woodstock City Council does not support the use of strong mayor powers. Now therefore it be resolved that prior to the mayor signing a commitment in writing by October 15th, 2023, the mayor be requested to publicly outline the intentions of the use of strong mayor powers in writing to ensure transparency to the residents and taxpayers of the city of Woodstock.
Thank you. I would need a seconder on that. Counselor Wheaton, Counselor Leatherborough, you'd like to speak to that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much, everybody, for me moving this up. We might as well get on with it. All of the reasons that I've said, but I did want to just highlight why I brought up the strategic priorities. So I have it in front of me, council's top 5 objectives. I pulled one from there. The public's top 5 objectives, I've pulled one from there, and they're essentially in sync. For council's top 5 objectives, it's to provide the necessary resources to support community and economic growth. For the public's top 5 objectives, it's objective 2, effectively deliver amenities and services. It's not enough money. It's not going to make us whole. I remember campaigning north of Piddock in 2018, knocking on doors, and all of those residents are still waiting for some type of fire, EMS, policing hub. I invite more ways to create more units. I'm trying not to repeat myself because now they've all meshed together, but it's not enough money. And I am very, very concerned about how we effectively provide services in this economy and future economy to the residents of Woodstock. And so I'll leave it there for now.
Okay, and if you'll allow me to comment on your comment. Again, this is one of the biggest reasons we're heading in that direction and why I want to accept, even though I feel right now, I can feel my blood pressure at a personal, almost attack level, pardon the words of that, just because that was mentioned, but I'm not trying to take this personally, don't get me wrong, but I'm putting myself in this position because I'll say it, I truly feel this is the best thing for the city of Woodstock. This is not for me. I never asked for strong mayors. I never asked for this. There is no option. So in order to get a bigger piece of the pie, to get more money for those exact reasons, Councillor Leatherborough, you stated that we need, it is my responsibility to wear this burden right now and to accept as much as I can. Okay, without doing that, we are the scraps as some ministers have referred to them. So Councillor Leatherborough.
So I'll just follow up where I'm still not confident that we're going to be remotely whole. Thank you very much for speaking to that. And I'm going to put it on the record that if you do sign, you do not have my blessing. And further to that, the action item of this is that I still want and expect, depending on how this vote goes, to see a better version, to shift democracy back into the hands of council, a better version, a clear version of what is this website going to look like? You know, what were the points that you referenced from the city of Guelph Mayor Cam Guthrie, those types of things. So those are just my personal reflections on, I feel like I was taken out at the knees a little bit with the mayor's report, not satisfied. So maybe there's room for improvement. But I do not endorse strong mayor powers at all.
Again, may I comment to that? I was actually quite pleased with that report. So I'm kind of a little disappointed that you're not, because I don't have all the answers. I've never pretended, I've never sat up here and said, we've got all the answers yet. I don't. You mentioned Mayor Guthrie, sorry, from Guelph. We've spoken at length, and I really like the way he's going along with the delegating authority. And I've said that everything I can, I am delegating back to staff and to council. At this point, I don't know how much more clear I could be. There's some things I cannot. I'm accepting that. budget being one of them is being talked about. We will continue on the best we can with what we have. So as far as more information in that report, unfortunately, there is no more exact information I can provide you. I think I've been very clear. I'm trying to share and be as open and transparent as possible with everyone, not just you, but everybody watching, that I am giving all the information I can at this point. I hope we have more. I certainly will continue on those conversations as this develops and everything else. And as I get them, I will share them. Councillor Wheaton.
Can you give me a rationale on why you can't give an answer to the 2025 or 2026 budget?
Yeah, because I don't have the information yet. I don't know what we're looking at. I don't know what things are going to look like. Once we have a new minister now, things can change. Things can change. And in fact, the way I was leaning before, I strongly believe everyone is going to have strong mayor powers. I don't think this is going away. This is going across the board on everything. How that's going to look at, there are some discussions that things may change up a wee bit. I don't know. I'm giving you the information I have now. So right now I've got the 2024 budget, and that is the one I will sign the bylaw or whatever we have to go about to do that, to sign it back to a councillor budget as well as to staff to prepare as normal as status quo. Yes, continue.
Going back to your conversation with Associate Minister Flack earlier this week, I think it was Tuesday, I think you had a conversation with him. Did you get a sense, or did the conversation come up about the priority? Was the priority more on the actual getting shovels in the ground and houses built? Or was it about the pledge and the powers, and where did the bulk of your conversation focus on?
Fair enough. The bulk of the conversation was me asking was strong mayors. Those are the biggest questions I have, knowing we were having this meeting today. Biggest one I wanted to know was, do I have a third option that they haven't come out with? Because if there was, I'm telling you right now, I would seriously consider signing that. There is not an option. That was made very, very clear. So this is an all or nothing, and I will take it all for the benefit of the larger dollar amounts and to keep that communication happening with the province. Did we talk about more? Yes, of course we talked about more. He had a break in between. He was at House of Commons and he was very gracious enough to call me when the break happened, and we talked at length about housing and the direction things are going. And again, most of my questions directed to him were, though, right now, today, or sorry, Tuesday, based around strong mayors. Yes.
To follow up, I asked the question because some of the conversations that I've been involved in with Associate Minister Flack, conversation has very much been about strong mayor powers, and the pledge was very much the previous minister's priority. And like, what are the ideas? How do we get houses built? How do we get shovels in the ground? Has kind of been the emphasis. So that's why I asked the question. It's a comment. Just wanted to justify the reasons why I was asking.
So I'm kind of curious when you spoke to Minister Flack, if you don't mind then.
So I
because he
didn't say
did
that
not
I
say
spoke to Minister Flack. I said in the conversations that I've had around conversations with Minister Flack.
Okay. Fair enough. Any other Councillor Tate?
Through the chair, I first want to acknowledge all the work again that Councillor Leatherbarrow did. She had another motion she was going to bring, not the last meeting, but meeting before, I was going to support, but we didn't get to it. So I'm glad that it was brought back under this. I am going to support it. And I'll say again, I agree with almost all of the comments that you've made. Completely agree with them. My reasoning for supporting the pledge is because of the experience over there, but I fully support your comments. I'll say again, I do not envy the job of the mayor. That's why I'd never ran for it, never want to do it. And I think the province has put you in a terrible position, but it's probably people that wrote up the legislation never actually sat in a municipal chair, so not understanding the full impact. But I'll say again, I have experience where the mayor has done, he's got control of a council and he gets his agenda done. I'm fully confident that that's not, the powers will not get used here because we have a very strong council. That's never going to happen. The public would be more than aware of what's going on. And I'm pretty sure who's ever sitting in that chair would not want to experience the backlash. So I'm confident going forward. And I think the last part of the motion, and I think this is acceptable, that the mayor be requested publicly outline the intentions of the use of the strong mayor powers in writing to ensure transparency to the residents and taxpayers of the city of Woodstock. I think that's our most important part of the whole thing. And I think that's the most important part of this motion. And I think the mayor has trying to stress that. So I think you tried to write that in your report, and to Council Leatherbarrow's comments, maybe it's not as clear to what we would normally speak, perhaps, but I think that's, I guess I'll ask you, you are comfortable stating that, correct? Through the chair?
My report,
Well,
In the
no,
mayor's
so
report, you mean?
The last
Sorry.
part of the motion, the mayor be requested to publicly outline the intentions of the use of the strong mayor powers and range, ensure transparency to the residents and taxpayers of the city of Woodstock. So from what I understand from some of the other mayors, they delegated the authority back, which you said you're going to
Yeah.
do. And I think maybe, I don't know, maybe you just need to have another report where it's just clear. These are the strong mayor powers that I am delegating back. Just keep it clean, simple, and to the point. I mean, I agree with this motion. So I think that's the important part for the taxpayers to know. The powers that you could use, you're not. And the point of the whole pledge is not for these powers, it's for the other things that were mentioned. So is there an issue with that?
Sorry, no, absolutely not. I've said that. I've been trying to do that my entire term. I'll continue to be as transparent and open as possible, even when it makes me feel uncomfortable, I guess. What does the website look like yet? I don't know. I mean, let's face it, I don't know. Which ones do I like? Anybody go ahead and take a look at City of Guelph. I really like what they've done. I've never kept that a secret. I really like what they've done. Will we copy it? I wouldn't necessarily say that, but I can almost assure you it's going to be similar for council's consideration to look at it. And yeah, I would agree to that last portion at all. Or I do agree with that last portion that the mayor be requested to publicly outline intentions, use of strong mayor powers in writing to ensure transparency and residents taxpayer to the city of Woodstock. I mean, right in the legislation, it is clearly stated that council has to get the information as well. You'll get the information if there is anything that ever would come up. You will know that before it comes forward. That it's clearly in the legislation right now that, you know, it's there. So, yes.
Once again, just like to thank Councilor Leatherbear. I think that would be really clear to the public, and you have a full understanding that you're not using all the powers that I mean, the legislation, some of the wording is terrible, and nobody in their right mind would ever want to give away democracy. That's not what we were elected to do. So I don't think anybody would agree with most of that stuff, the strong mayor powers that we disagree with. So I would like to see that at some point, obviously, if the motion passes.
Yes, and I'm committing, I'll be doing that no matter what happens here with this current motion. That'll be very clear. Okay, Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. Just one question on the paragraph before that last one. And whereas Woodstock City Council does not support the use of strong mayor powers, so what happens if we don't support it? You still go ahead and sending in the letter It's just that you don't have the support of council, and will that make any difference in anything that you're doing?
That was actually one of the questions I asked, speaking with the ministry. Would they like to see everybody be full supportive of everything? Yes, of course they would. I mean, that's the government. That's what they would like to see. They would love to see councils vote unanimously, even with the strong mayors in it. They would love to see that. Yes, of course they would. How will it affect us? I mean, I guess time will tell. I think we've been very plain, and councils certainly expressed their concerns that a lot I share with them. I'm not hiding that. I can understand where that's coming from. All I can say is what I'm going to do as a mayor right now. And again, I'll boil back. This is truly what I feel is the best for the city of Woodstock, and therefore that's my opinion. But I hope the province doesn't hold it against us. If that's what you're referring to, is that the way I'm taking that? Maybe, but I'm going to do the best job I can with any tools I have. Plain and simple. Councillor Tate, is that all? Sorry.
Just my
Councillor
final-
Tate.
Yes, sorry, just my final thing. And I think what Councillor Lauder is getting to, where we all agreed to that motion, I think that's in Councillor Leatherbarrow's motion at the end. And I think the mayor stated he is going to list the things that he's not going to use the strong mayor. To me, the strong mayors and the pledge is two separate things. And I think we need to identify that and understand that for the public too. It's two separate things. And I think the mayor is going to be completely transparent from what I've heard. He's going to list what he's not going to use in the strong mayor wording. But the pledge, I'm not going to get into it again, but the reasons why we have to do the pledge. And as you said, whether we agree or disagree, it's going ahead anyway, so.
Any other discussion before I call a vote? Councillor Schanberg.
Yeah, maybe just as a point of clarification again, in the opening paragraph, it says provincially assigned target of 5,500 new homes in Woodstock. Maybe it should be worded to say something like residential units in Woodstock. I mean, a 12-story apartment building could be 150 homes. It's not one new home. Would give the connotation to some people if they read that these are all detached homes or semis, or that there's individual homes and not the number of residential units, say in an apartment building or other building structure.
If I don't know who you're asking that to, but I'll comment if I may. I mean, it's quite clear in the requirement that it's just residences in general. How we get to that is up to us to continue to do that as a council. And I don't think anybody has ever stated we want 5,500 single family homes, because that is not the way we're going to be able to do this.
I
That's
just
pretty
wanted to know if
clear.
there was a clarification, the wording needed, like maybe a friendly amendment to that effect.
I do not believe so. I think I am comfortable with having the wording the way it is as new homes, because it's an apartment, it's a condo, it's a single family home. It's still a new home to somebody. But does anyone feel that that is needed? I don't want to speak for everyone. No? Okay, so Councillor Schattenberg, if you're okay with that, we'll just carry on the way it is with the same understanding that any residences. Okay, any others before I call the vote? All right, all those in favor? And opposed? It's carried. Thank you for that. And again, to be clear, the reason I'm opposing that, even though Councillor Leatherbarrow, thank you so much for that. So much for the work that's gone into this. I am continuing to work with the province and do what we can for the best we can for the residents of City of Woodstock. So now we've got to jump back. I believe I called department reports. So we're at number 14 for those following along. 14A Administrative Services. 14A1, Councillor Wismer Van Meer, seconded by Councillor Tate.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Tate, that Woodstock City Council approve the fees and charges as detailed in the attached report and that the necessary bylaw be passed.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? None opposed. Carried. Next up, nothing from engineering, nothing cultural services, parks and rec, nothing from economic development, clerks, CAO, human resources, fire services, or public works, and nothing from information technology at this time. So we move along to 15 special committees and advisory task force reports. Look for a motion. 15A, Woodstock Art Gallery, acquisition of painting by Ross Butler. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. I'll move that Woodstock City Council grant the Woodstock Art Gallery's request to draw out $25,000 for the Art Gallery Art Acquisition Reserve Fund, account 0180-52004-0525, to provide the funds to purchase Ross Butler's major painting, The First Settler at Woodstock, 1966, oil on masonite, 76.20 by 243.84 centimeters, for the gallery's permanent collection.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Wheaton. Discussion. Councillor Lauder.
I won't do any discussion, but we have Ms. Reed, I should say, here, and maybe she could come up and tell us why she thinks this is important.
Excellent idea. Welcome, Ms. Reed.
Thank you. Here's my painting.
Where'd you put the painting, Jeff? Is it possible that the painting can be displayed on the screen here? Because I can't see it on the podium. Okay, so good afternoon, Mariachione and City Council. I'm here today on behalf of the Gallery's Advisory Board in regards to the painting, The First Settler of Woodstock, which has been painted by our local legend Ross Butler in 1966. Born in Norwich in 1907, Butler grew up on a farm surrounded by livestock and developed a distinct interest in painting the animals around him. Largely self-taught, he developed a passion for agricultural art and was especially interested in purebred cattle, specifically the Jersey breed. Later, he created a series of paintings, the true types, that are based around cattle and horse breeds standards for the time. Butler pursued perfection in his work, using his theory of perfect animal proportions to paint the ideal breed standards for a variety of livestock. A man of many ventures, he also helped to pioneer cattle breeding technology, as well as creating commissions for brands and organizations. And he was hired to create butter sculptures at the Canadian National Exhibition, as well as our Royal Agricultural Winter Fair, and designed sculptures for Black Horse Ale Brewery. And we probably know him best for our Springbank Snow Countess. The statue that we have over at Devonshire and Springbank was adapted on a painting by Butler. So over his lifetime, Butler created hundreds of works of art. While he was never really kind of given that proper recognition during his lifetime, but his legacy has certainly grown since his death, leading to become one of Woodstock's most notable artists and possibly the most prolific Canadian agricultural artist. The Woodstock Art Gallery mounted a large exhibition with an accompanying brochure, which I've passed along to the council members in 2018. And this painting, The First Settler at Woodstock, was included in the exhibition. So many of you are aware of a recent CBC article from July of 24 of this year, where they discussed about the future dispersal of the Ross Butler collection, and several concerned Woodstock residents reached out to the gallery regarding the fate of the collection. The gallery has been working with the Butler family to advise on the dispersal of the collection, and Ross Butler's son, David, who's the steward, has been involved with the gallery in several capacities over the years, and he and his wife, Mary, are certainly steadfast supporters. Currently, the gallery holds 2 works by Ross Butler in our permanent collection, but both of these are photographic litho prints. They're effectively commercially produced posters of the original paintings. And by acquiring a painting by Butler would allow for future research and study of his artistic process, and would also allow us to possess an important piece of Woodstock art history in our collection. And as well, the painting at some point was considered to be a public mural, but that was never realized. And this also is an important educational tour for the history of painting and our artistic and agricultural culture within Woodstock. So as mentioned, the gallery is looking for permission to draw out $25,000 from our art acquisition reserve fund, a reserve fund which I should mention cannot be used for any other purpose but to purchase work for the gallery's collection. And we certainly feel that this painting is very deserving of that and would like to include that into our permanent collection. And I'm happy to answer any questions. The painting itself was attached with the council report and was in the agenda. So my apologies that it's not being able to be displayed for you guys in the meeting.
Thank you. Any questions or comments of council? Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, more of a comment. If you grew up in Woodstock, especially Oxford County, you knew Mr. Butler. He actually lived behind me. So I used to often go through the cornfield in the forest and go back to visit the Butler family where Ross lived with his wife, and that's where the gallery is now. Very lovely couple that were extremely kind. And Mrs. Humphries would also agree. One of his pieces hung up in our elementary school. It was a big piece of East Oxford School. So I think this is one of those things where it's extremely important for the history of a local artist and just for him and his family, and just honoring the work that he did and his dedication and his love for the agricultural society in Oxford County, and having known the family as well. I think this is a really nice piece for us to include, and I'm happy to see that you have this opportunity.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wheaton.
Thank you. Are you okay? Okay. Just to build on Councillor Wismer Van Meer's comments, definitely to pay tribute to a local artist. But I think that any time that you can bring the country into the city, and I know that the Royal Winter Fair has a tagline, something to that, you know, when the farm comes to the city, something like that. I think it's the opportunity for people who might not get out to see real livestock, to be in the presence of like just this incredible piece of art. I think is a great learning opportunity for urban viewers as well as rural. And so I'm very excited to see this and very much looking forward to seeing it on the wall.
Great, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? I'll simply say thank you for bringing this forward, because I too can't wait to see it. If we're able to purchase it, of course. And with that, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? It's unanimous.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, looking for a motion for 15B, 2023 Community Grant Program. Councillor Tate, seconded by Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
In accordance with Community Grants Policy GA 003, Woodstock City Council allocates the following grants for the year 2023. 13 Woodstock Scouts 3,000, Alzheimer's Society 2,000, Cycles of Life for Supportive Transitional Living 8,000, Ingamo Homes 37,500, KTK Productions 2,500, Operation Sharing 10,000, Oxford Attack Basketball Club 1,500, Oxford County Pride 3,000, Oxford Winds Community Concert Band 2,000, Woodstock Curling Club Center 6,000, Woodstock Dragon Boat Club 1,900, Woodstock Kitten Nursery and Rescue 2,700, Woodstock Legion Athletic Club 4,000, and further that Woodstock City Council authorizes the carryover of the balance from account 0204-83747-000 to the 2024 budget year to provide supplemental funding for the 2024 community grants program.
Thank you. Discussion, Counselor Tate.
I believe Counselor Wheaton's on the committee, but I've always commented on this. Hats off to the committee members for having to decide where the money goes. As we discussed, it's the money comes from the slots, so it's a two-edged sword. It's unfortunate all these people lost all this money, so we are able to give it back out, which at least there's some benefit. The one for Ingamo Homes, I believe it was for security lighting. That's why the amount is so high. So very thankful for that. Very happy to see Operation Sharing get money. If it was me, I'd probably give them all the money that we had. But I know we have to divide it up, but we're very lucky that we have this amount we can give out. I'm very happy to see where the money's gone.
Thank you. Counselor Wheaton.
Thank you, Mayor Accioni. I was really pleased to see the wide variety of applications across so many different sectors. I think that really speaks to the involvement of charity and nonprofit organizations in our community. I think, as Councillor Tate said, I think this is a fantastic way to use this type of funding to give back into our community. There was the odd time that we questioned, can we give more to the applicant than what they asked for? But according to the bylaws, we couldn't do that. And so I think what you see here in this list is that there is a wide variety of need, and even the monies that were requested probably aren't enough to even meet all of those needs. And so the next intake for this application will be in March of 2024. So if you didn't get in on this intake, we anticipate there will be one in the spring. And so start thinking about how your organization could benefit from some operational assistance.
Thank you. Any other, Counselor Wheaton?
Mayor Accioni actually joined the grant committee. Do you have any thoughts on what the experience was like? Because it's not easy.
It's certainly not. In fact, I believe I even said this on one of the radio interviews I did. It may have been Hope FM. I'm not sure if it was Heart FM or not, to be honest with you, but hats off to the committee. I've had the pleasure to sit in on most committees over the years. This is one I've never sat on. This is never a committee. So I hats off to the entire committee, because there is a lot to read ahead of time. There's a lot of information to go through and kind of figure out, because the pot is not endless. There is only so much money. And to be able to take the time and go through, and we talked about every single item on these and what we felt was appropriate, how much we could do. And there were certainly some that jumped out more than others. I guess that's fair to say. The appreciation is there from all the committee members for putting this hard work in. And I was just fortunate and thankful to be a part of that this time. And to all organizations, recognize the need is huge. In general, feel free to send in applications like Councillor Wheaton mentioned, because again, she's a board member and will continue on, or sorry, a committee member, and will continue on that path for the next intake. Councillor Lauder.
Yeah, I want to thank the committee also. I have sat on it for a few terms, and it is not easy, and especially if you have to say no, or they could be asking for much more than what is available, and you try your best to satisfy everyone that sends in a request for money. So thanks, and thanks for the good work.
Any other comment or questions before I call the vote? With that, all those in favor? None opposed. Carried. Congratulations to all those organizations, and hope you continue to do well with those funds. Next up, we do have a notice of motion. Councillor Schattenberg has put forward the following motion. Councillor Schattenberg.
I myself, Councillor Mark Schattenberg, put forth the following notice of motion for consideration at the October 19th, 2023 council meeting. Whereas at the June 22nd, 2023 Southwestern Public Health Board of Board of Health meeting, a report entitled Consumption of Treatment Services Feasibility Study Findings Report was approved unanimously. And whereas this report included an exploration of the need for and feasibility of a consumption and treatment services in Oxford and Elgin counties. And whereas this report concluded that the region served by Southwestern Public Health would benefit from consumption and treatment services. And whereas this report recommended proceeding with phase 2 of the study, which involved identifying a potential consumption and treatment services site in the city of Woodstock. And whereas this report also acknowledges that some people do not support this strategy, creating the need for ongoing consultation and engagement with the community, business owners and operators, health systems, and community partners to support the ongoing exploration of consumption and treatment services in the region. And whereas Woodstock City Council hosted a public meeting on September 26, 2023, to receive information and feedback from stakeholders and citizens regarding a possible consumption and treatment services site in the city, including delegations from Dr. Nin Tran, the Medical Officer of Health for Southwestern Public Health, delegation from Oxford County Community Health Center, along with the Canadian Mental Health Association and others, with all members of the council in attendance that day. And whereas the Consumption and Treatment Services application guide from the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care requires that local municipal councils support, i.e. a council resolution or letter, endorsing the consumption and treatment services must be obtained. And whereas a council resolution of non-support for a consumption site, safe injection site, there be in the city of Woodstock, before the commencement of phase 2 of the study would prevent unnecessary time and effort of ongoing exploration and consideration of a site within the city of Woodstock. Now therefore be resolved that the city of Woodstock does not support a consumption and treatment services site within the municipal boundaries of the city of Woodstock. And further, that Woodstock City Council does, however, support the development of a campus of treatment services around addiction, mental health, rehabilitation, and transitional housing, which does not include consumption services. And further, this resolution will be circulated to Southwestern Public Health, Oxford MP Arpan Canada, Oxford MPP Ernie Hardeman, Oxford Premier Doug Ford, or Ontario Premier Doug Ford, the Minister of Health Sylvia Jones, and Associate Minister of Mental Health and Addictions Michael Tabillo.
Thank you. Again, no discussion is on this item as it will be brought forward, as Councillor Schanberg mentioned, on our next council meeting for those watching at home. We've gone over new business, which brings us, I guess, to draft bylaws. Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Moved by myself, Councillor Wismer Van Meer, seconded by Councillor Tate, that the following bylaw be given a first and second reading. 9632-23, a bylaw to amend City of Woodstock Municipal Code by repealing and replacing there to Municipal Code Chapter 330 entitled Fee Charges.
Thank you. Any discussion, questions on that? Yeah. Okay. Then I will call the vote. All those in favor? Carried. Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Moved by myself, Councillor Wismer Van Meer, seconded by Councillor Tate, that the following bylaw be given a third and final reading. 9632-23.
Thank you. Last chance. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Carried. And next up, we do have adjournment. That's it. We got through that. Let's start with Councillor Wheaton.
I am illfully unprepared, woefully unprepared for this. I will say that I checked my mail first. Success. And I found my copy of What's on Woodstock in there today. So I just picked it up today and I'm looking forward to leafing through it tonight and reading what's happening in our city in the next couple of weeks. And thanks to the communications department that puts together that publication for the community to benefit from. That's all I've got.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Councillor Schanberg.
Yeah, three things to mention. First of all, I was talking to Mary Reed, our curator at the Woodstock Art Gallery, when she was coming in earlier. And I was noticing around the city of Woodstock, the bicycle racks that are appearing very quickly at all the municipal facilities, whether it be the library or outside here at City Hall or certainly the community complex. And she said there's going to be 50 bike racks in total. So it's just a matter of getting them all mounted and put in place in the concrete and whatnot poured for the different locations. That so far 18 of them have been put out. So I have to thank the Woodstock Art Gallery for running that terrific contest earlier in the year. And of course, Magdalene Furniture, local company, was the one that sort of built or put them together based on artwork submitted by different people that wanted to participate in it. Wanted to mention the Oxford Historical Society, their 125th birthday dinner that I attended. Mayor Accioni was there too, and so was our warden, Marcus Ryan, had attended. What's so interesting is when they talk and have different speakers, because they did a bit of a panel at that event, is how different the history is when you look at, say, Otterville and Norwich versus Tavistock versus Woodstock versus Princeton, the different histories that all the communities have. So that's the one thing that I really enjoyed about their presentation there. And maybe members of the community should look up the Oxford Historical Society on the internet. And I think it's $25 a year for a membership, but they have all kinds of great guest speakers and other events throughout the year to attend. The other thing I wanted to mention is the Woodstock Lakers play their first ever home game on a Saturday, October the 7th at 7:45. I'm sure the mayor is going to mention that in a minute too, but they play Strathroy. So that's a brand new senior team to the city of Woodstock, which means the players are over the age of 20 as opposed to junior players like the Woodstock Navy vets. And their next game after October 7th is important because on October 14th at 7:45, they play Tillsonburg, and that should be a great rivalry between Woodstock and Tillsonburg in that league.
Thank you. Councillor Wheaton?
May I have a mulligan?
Let me guess. Go ahead. Yeah.
I just received an email from Southwestern Public Health inviting high-risk community members are now eligible for their updated COVID vaccine. So beginning the week of October 11th, the vaccine program is opening its doors to high-risk community members. So that would be pregnant people, people over the age of 65, people who are First Nations, Inuit, or Métis, or their household members, or adults with an immune compromising health condition. That you do have to wait 6 months from your last immunization. But clinic times, dates, and locations, as well as booking information, can be found at Southwestern Public Health /COVID-19. Breaking news.
Thank you. Let's go to Councillor Leatherborough.
So it's the long weekend. Tomorrow's a PA day, so spend it with your children. I believe I'm going to the Simcoe Fair. I know that's outside of Oxford County, but that's, Norfolk. But yes, but I'm saying I believe it's outside of Oxford, but I'm still saying that's where I'm going to be tomorrow. And then next Saturday, October 14th, CD Saturday, partnership with the WEAC committee as well as the Woodstock Public Library. So bring your kids, your family, storytime music, guest speakers, activities. I hope everyone has a long weekend. And this time next week, I will be 33 years of age. So I'll be a year older the next time I'm around this horseshoe. So happy long weekend.
We'll have a wonderful birthday and a good Thanksgiving as well. Let's go to Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Just a couple of things. This weekend, cast celebration is happening at the Oxford Auditorium. So College Ave Secondary School, proud alumni over here, Knights Forever. Sorry, Huron Park, WCI, all others. Yeah, so it's 60 years this year that cast is celebrating. I actually got to be a part of the 50th celebration 10 years ago and planning that. It was a lot of fun. Really excited for this weekend. Now what? A local band is playing, but Greg Morton is coming back. A lot of people remember him from America's Got Talent. He's going to be the DJ. He was the in-house DJ at Cass in his days while he was there. So looking forward to that. Tickets are available, and it's a little bit of a fundraiser as well for Woodstock Minor Football. So some of the proceeds from the event are going to support our local football league. October 21st, Big Brothers Big Sisters Big Night Out Charity Ball, the Halloween Bash is taking place. There's still tickets available. And that's a dinner, dance, auction, raffles, all kind of fun thing. Big Halloween party, big costume party. So come on out because it's a lot of fun. It's actually one of the nights that I really regret being a staff member at Big Brothers Big Sisters because I'd much rather be on the other side of the night. A week from today, actually a week from tomorrow for myself, I will be heading down to Sylvania, Ohio, to our sister city for the Fall Fest, to go down with some other committee members, including Mayor Accioni, and of course, some other members. I believe that Councillor Lauder is also coming as well with the art gallery. So looking forward to going down there. Have not been to Sylvania before, so I'm excited for that. My daughter's already given me her shopping list for Target, so that should be fun as well. And just echoing what Councillor Leatherborough said, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. I hope that you get time to visit with your family, or for some people, it's the Friendsgiving weekend. They're spending it with their friends, their family of choice. So however you celebrate, I hope you enjoy it. Unfortunately, Mother Nature doesn't sound like she's going to be as nice as she was during the week, but there's lots of great ways to have a great time. So happy Thanksgiving, and just take moments to remember what you're grateful for. Thanks.
Well said. Thank you. And let's go to Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. On behalf of the Woodstock Art Gallery Advisory Board, I want to thank all the participants involved with the gallery's signature fundraiser, A Taste of Art. It was a most successful event to date, and the show of community support was outstanding. A big thank you to all who helped make this night a night to remember. And a reminder that the gallery's fall open house is coming up on Saturday, November the 4th, 1 to 3 p.m. Please join us as we celebrate our new fall 2023 exhibitions. The event is free and everyone is welcome. And following up on the Sylvania trip, I'm looking forward to visiting our sister city in Sylvania, Ohio next weekend. I know it's always a fun time. I've been there before, and really looking forward to it. It's the first cross-border celebration of art, and there are 41 artists in the exhibition, with 30 of those artists from Canada, a local Woodstock region. So we should be very proud. Being exhibited at the Lourdes University in Sylvania. This marks the 65th anniversary of the Visual Elements annual juried exhibition. And thank you to the local Woodstock Rotary Club and Sylvania Arts Commission for their support of this project. And this morning, in case you hadn't heard, I heard that this is Fat Bear Week, when all the bears fill up on all the food they can, preparing themselves for their hibernation. And just wishing everyone a wonderful Thanksgiving and safe and happy time. Thank you.
So I'm going to use that as an excuse now this weekend. You know that, right? And last and certainly not least, Councillor Tate.
I'm going to use this time once again to a shout out to our staff. I did send an email to some of the staff, but for the public's benefit, Councillor Leatherborough had sent me a text one night. We had a water issue down the street from both of us. The neighbors had already called, but I think Councillor Leatherborough knew I had speed dial for one of our staff members, so I contacted the water guy that I knew, who was not on call, but arrived at the site waiting for the person that was on call, just because he was around. So very conscientious, didn't have to do that. The superintendent, he also attended, the police attended. It was a site that my son works for the people, so he went right away down to the site. The owner of Yukon did send me a message because I sent him the picture, and he says, thank you so much for the sharp eyes. It wasn't me, it was Councillor Leatherborough, so you can thank her. So it got cleaned up all right away. But he also thanked me for my son going down and not just calling it in. So I thought, maybe that was his mother's bringing up. So I'll thank myself for that one, that I actually raised a child that actually was considerate. But anyways, so a big shout out to the staff. And that's why I said to Councillor Leatherborough, I said, that's why we fight so hard to keep control of our water, because we have amazing staff. So, and it turned out, I mean, it was a big mess, but they got it cleaned up, and it turned out it was just the top of a knob blew off, which never happens, but it happened. Also just on the Thanksgiving, it's good time to spend with family, but also any random act of kindness you can do to people that, you know, you don't normally, it makes a big impact on them. Just to do something for somebody, even, you know, Operation Sharing, take a donation, DASO, everybody always needs something. And as Councillors Lauder's comment on the bears, there was that is happening right now. So the bears are actually out there and getting as much food as they can get. And where my son is, there was a bear attack and killed 2 people. So because they are trying to get as much food as they can right now, they're very hungry. So I text my son because I just left there and I said, did you hear about that? He said, yes. He said, there's snow on the mountains. I'm not going on any trails, so all is good, but it's not a good thing. So anyways, I just thought that was funny you mentioned that. And have a good Thanksgiving.
Well, thanks, and thank you, Councillor Tate, for bringing up the staff. I've got it here in my notes to definitely thank staff as well. Staff has been looking at a lot of different things lately, it seems, and between us all, we've been speaking with a lot of staff on so many different items to mention that just want to say a big thank you on behalf of all of us for staff always being willing to answer our questions, for always willing to give us their expertise. And it goes from every department there is. So thank you. Unfortunately, I had to miss the unveiling of the Terry Fox track or cross and field, depending on how you want to look at it. That was today, just after lunch. Got an invite. Unfortunately, couldn't attend that, but I was able to attend a grade 10 WCI civics class this morning. So it was an 8:15 class. And once the students woke up a little bit, they started to interact a little bit more, and it was a lot of fun. So to Mr. Hall and his entire class, thank you so much for that opportunity. And my apologies to Cass. I actually go there quite often, and I certainly didn't want to turn that down, but obviously we're here. This Saturday, of course, is the Lakers' first home hockey game. I am excited. I'll be dropping the puck to that game. So thank you to Jeff Sayre and the entire team for that opportunity. On a hockey theme, I did come into the office on Monday and had something sitting on my desk I'd like to show all of council. So once I stopped crying and realized this wasn't for me personally, and this is for the city, I would have to say that we do plan on putting that up somewhere. And thank you to the Muzzin family. That's really special. It's funny, we were saying I'm a big Leafs fan. Don't hold that against me. I am a big Leafs fan, and having our own Woodstock represented on that team has been so special all these years. So unfortunately, with his injury, it doesn't look like he'll be playing much anymore, but my understanding is going to be quite involved with the team in a scouting role. And wish him the best of luck to Muzzin, and thank you to the Muzzin family. Thank you to Councillor Schadenberg for having this all arranged and having that nice little surprise sitting on my desk. But like I said, it's for the city, and I have worn it. I did put it on. I will admit I did put it on, but it'll stay here. So we'll do something with this. We're looking at boxing it up, and we'll make sure the public has access and see this somewhere to be determined for sure. But I wanted everybody to know we got that from the Muzzin family. So thank you to them. Sylvania, of course, was mentioned. I love going to Sylvania. I've been, I don't know, a dozen plus times to our sister city. Their fall fair, and of course this year's extra special. I'd like to say thank you to Mary Reed and her entire staff at the art gallery to have that at Lord's University. I'm looking forward to seeing it there. Of course, the night of the Taste of Art was the last night it was available to be seen as a juried exhibition here in the city of Woodstock that I was able to attend. Again, it's no secret, one of my most favorite events of the year here in the city. So thank you to everybody for organizing not only the Taste of Art, but this art exchange. I think this is really exciting. And with that, I know there's a lot more going on, but I'm just going to say happy Thanksgiving to all. From my family to yours, have a fantastic weekend. Be thankful. We're so lucky here in the friendly city of Woodstock that make sure you pass that along. And and share the best you can. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Counselor Schattenberg, seconded by Counselor Wismer Van Meer. We are adjourned. Thank you.